Okay, so welcome back to the OSDC for Perl programmers. I prepared some things that we can take a look at. I was thinking about looking at the CPAN cover website, and where you can see the test coverage reports. I prepared Docker for running for development of the local environment, for the local development environment of DBDPG, because last week we were doing the class DBIX class.
Okay. Yeah.
And we set up, but it's huge. It's a lot of things.
Huge,
so I thought, okay, so I thought, okay, let's do just one segment of sort of it. Okay. So I started to work on that, and now I have it on my computer. I haven't sent any pull request, anything there, but we can take a look at how I set up. So a Docker environment to run the tests locally in Docker. For the DBDPG. These are the two things. I have a couple of sort of requests in case you have time to work on various pull requests later in the week. So these are the things we can cover. I think you mentioned that you have some project that we might want to take a look at. So how shall we start? Shall we start with your project? Shall I start with one of the things I prepared?
Let's try with the thing you prepared.
Okay.
Then yeah.
Okay, so I'll show a couple of things, and then that I just thought to talk about. Okay, so I think we can. So here is the test coverage report of DBDPG. Okay, that I just prepared in the last hour. There are some things to be improved here, but this is the test coverage report. So I am not even sure what are these here at this point, and maybe we should exclude them. I don't know if they are related. I think they are not related, but I'm not unclear why are these here. And here there are access modules, and this is the PM, the Perl module. So it's basically written mostly in C, and it's very interesting. I didn't know that the Devil cover can actually report test coverage on the C libraries as well. Okay, so so let's look at the Perl one, because that's where I can tell you more. So what we can see here is that all these rows are covered, and then it's almost 100%. So then there is this line is not covered. Okay. Tell me, okay. So this line is not covered, which actually is a result of this if statement. So the if statement can be, of course, true or false. And if it's true, then this would be executed. But apparently in none of the tests was this true. Okay. Actually, I can click on this one, and I click it and then open it in a different one, so I can see it here. So here, this is the table of the conditions, and here you can see that specific row, that specific line in the code that says that the true version wasn't covered, the false version was covered.
Right.
And then you can go over all the other conditionals, okay, and see where is something missing. So here, for example, this else if this condition, neither of them were covered, but apparently it's because there's an if statement before, and that was never false. Okay, and this way we can take a look. I don't know if we can from here we can go back to the actual source code. Apparently not. Okay, so if I look at this, I can't go back to where this is in the source code. But I can see that it's line 681, so I can also come back here and go to 681, and here there are more things that are not covered. So apparently this condition, so it was covered when it was false, and then the true. No, sorry. Here apparently, I don't know why this 0 comes here. What does it do? So it might be an error here in the reporting. So this, in case I think, because the internal parts of this if statement are green, then from this I can know that this statement, that the true version was covered. But I can also click on the on this link, and then I can see that the true was covered here. At the top, I see the true was covered and the false not. Okay, and then it has an else if part, which is, I guess this is the else if part. So the reporting is slightly strange. This is the else if part, and here this is not covered. So this 0 is belongs to this line, I guess. So this is just a UI error in the report. Okay, because this else if now wasn't covered at all. Okay, so this wasn't true, and yeah, and the else part of whatever this is, the else part of this is not covered either. So anyway, this is how you can read it, and then you can from here you can say, okay, there are certain areas that are not covered, so either they are not in use. Okay, it's usually not this, but there also it can happen that, okay, this condition can be never met. Okay, let's say here one. Okay, this is an interesting one. This one says, right, private DBDPG version. So I guess I don't know what is this version number. What is this private version number? But maybe, okay, I'm just going some theoretical thing here, so maybe it's true. Maybe this means that, well, this actually means that for newer versions to do something. Okay, so it's not covered with a newer version of, I don't know, what is this, the database.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be the database version, isn't it? Because
but what is
that's
this
going to be
8,000?
I think it's because I'm guessing here that it's going to take the Postgres version and then convert it into something that you can use for comparison. So my guess is that that's just it's taken 8.3 or whatever the
right,
you know, whatever possible, and converted that into something like a number so they can do compare. So we can see there's like 9. Let's guess it's 9.6 is the previous one.
Oh, okay. Okay, and I understand, because so it says if it's bigger than this, then do this. But if it's smaller than 9,000 something, but bigger than 8,000, then do this.
Yeah.
And okay, so that's nice.
So I guess when you ran the tests or whatever, it was done on Postgres,
exactly.
A recent version. So it's gonna.
Let's look at now the setup. Okay. So what did I do here? So first I created a Docker file. Okay. Which where I use I start with Perl 5.36. Install this. I had to install the ASPEL development library, because then it's using tests.
Okay.
That's spell checker, and it uses ASPEL. Okay, so that's not really directly, but test uses that. Okay, and it needed the test needed the DBI, of course, and Perl critic, and I also added the devil cover, so I will be able to generate the coverage report. So this is the Docker file. Now I could just play with this Docker file, and here are the commands I use. So this command would build the Docker file, would build the Docker image, and it would call the image dbdpg. Okay, because I couldn't come up with a better name, and the name of the repository is dbdpg. So I said, okay, let's call it that way. So this is the building the image, and this one runs the Docker, okay, and mounts the local current drive. So this line, and then I can and I enter the container, and then I can run these commands, okay. But these, and then you will see the test running, but then it will report that certain tests are not executed, many of them actually, because they need an actual Postgres database.
Right.
Okay, so this was the first attempt, and this line is only here because so if I stop this container, so it's running, if I stop it, then with this command I can get back to it. Okay, so in this case, what I did, I didn't use the --rm to remove the container at the end. Maybe now it's already okay. I was at the beginning, it's okay to use the -rm because now the container doesn't need any additional installation. At the beginning, when I wasn't sure what to install, I launched it. So before I added all these installations, I started out with, okay, just Perl 536. And then I started it, and then I manually started to install things. And sometimes I had to stop it, and then I restarted it, and I didn't want to start from zero.
Sure.
Okay, so that's why I use this. But now that basically everything is installed in this container, in this image, then probably it would be better just to start the container with --rm, and then when I leave it, it's closed and it's removed, and I don't care, and then I don't care this line. But all this also is only useful to run the tests that don't need the database. Okay, and then I said, okay, so let's set up with a database. Okay, and for that I created the Docker Compose, and these are the commands here that I needed. So the Docker Compose, I created the Docker Compose file. Okay, and we saw it more or less, but let's go over here. So the Docker Compose file have two services: the client where my code runs, and the database. And here now we can connect to that. So I defined to run the Postgres database 15.2. Okay, and this is, if we go back to this report, well, I don't know even if there are any, if you can even download database 8 point anything anymore.
No.
Right. So this is actually what I wanted to say when we looked at it. So maybe this code can never run because there's no, that database doesn't exist anymore. Right?
Yep, absolutely.
So I don't know if it's worth removing this code, because especially in the Perl community, people like to prefer to have like full backward compatibility. So we say, okay, why should I remove it? Maybe someone still uses that really old Postgres database.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was released like 15 years ago, I guess. So I don't know. So, but this can be one of the indications of this coverage report. Okay, that suddenly there is some code that we don't need, and then we can, from this we can say, oh, this is some data. So okay, so because this is open source code, and it needs to support all kind of data versions, so maybe you leave it there. But if this is your company's code, and you have decided in the company that you upgrade the database, then it makes more sense to remove this old version of the code, right?
I agree.
Okay, so this is how I configured the Postgres part. I created a database volume for it, and I mapped. So this is just the volume. I mapped it to the proper folder. I just copy pasted it from the example I already created once. I set some username, password, and database names. Anything here can come. The point is that then I will have to pass them to the database. Okay, so both services need to know about this, and Postgres needs these environment variables, and the test of DBDPG need in these variable names. Okay, and I found that out just by looking at the source code of the test. So I think if I still have it now, T0 something, this one. Okay, I think I started with this DBI. So yeah, I found the DBI DSN that it needed, and then the DBI pass, I found it. Okay, so it's just basically reading the source code of the test that I found. What are the variable names? And there are actually a couple of more variable names, that environment names, environment variable names that it uses, it looks at. And I haven't tried to understand what are those for. Okay, some environments that I haven't set yet. Okay, so basically this tells Docker to set up a Postgres based on the 15.2 image and configures a few environment variables. And this is the upper part from client to here is the definition of the Docker container in which I'm going to run my code, or well, the code of DB/DPG. And the tests needed these 3 environment variables, and these are the same. So the secret, so this is the password, and I just type in something, doesn't really matter. Okay, it's just that they have to, both sides have to know the same secret, the same password. And here, this is the test DB, this is the name of the database, that for the database server I pass it with Postgres DB, and for the test it's part of the DBI DSN, the connection string. And the last one here is the name of the database. Okay, so this is the name of the service, and this is going to be basically the name that can be used to access the server. So the client can access this Postgres server by this name. It will have a name resolving. Okay, so basically it's in local DNS. So if this service, my Perl code, tries to access the database, then it needs to use this name. And this is the host name. Okay, so and this is how I pass it to the DSN. Okay, so this is the configuration of the Docker compose file, and then I put I put the commands. I ran Docker compose up in one window, and you can see it's running here. Okay, so all the logs are there, and then in another terminal I run docker exec -it, and this is the name of the container that was created. Okay, so it's DB/DPG because I am in the folder DB/DPG, and it's client because the name here is client, and it's 1 because that's the first one. Okay, and I could tell, I think I somehow tell, I don't know how, that to create more than 1 if for some reason I need it. Okay, so this is how this name comes there, and I run bash inside. So this is this window, okay, where I got access to, logged in basically to the container where or the client container. And then here I just ran the regular Perl things, so Perl makefile, make, and make test, and then I even ran cover -test that created the coverage report. Okay, and okay, so here in this case I set the auto testing and release testing manually. In the Docker compose case, it was already set here in the configuration file. Okay, which might not be a good idea. So after I ran the test coverage, I thought that maybe it's not a good idea, because now the test coverage was also running while the devil cover test ran. And the devil cover test takes time, okay, but it doesn't execute any of the code. So there's not any of the DBPG code. So there's no point in using that. So maybe I should somehow separate, and when I want to run get the coverage report, then turn these off. Okay, either by and then either I won't supply them here in the Docker compose file, or I can turn off. So I could just say author testing equal to 0 and run the coverage like this. Yeah, okay. And then the other one as well. So in order to make it faster. So it ran and then it created this text report, okay, and created the HTML report. And this is the HTML report that we got, okay. This is the main page, and then that's how you can drill down to the various parts. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have much, so because it's mostly C, I don't think I am I will know what to really say. But I mean DVD, we can take a look at here. So well, for that we'll have someone has to understand all this code in order to get a better understanding what tests are missing, because the PM file has almost 100% coverage, right? So we saw a few things that weren't covered, but almost 100% coverage. And the other files are not so, and I think these are not relevant. I think these are outside of, so we have to give some parameters so we won't get these in the report, because I think these don't belong to our distribution actually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so in this file, in this report, we saw the statement report. So this is the statement report for each statement, which one is covered and how many times. So the 20 means that this was executed 20 times. And then if you scroll down, these lines were executed 18 times, okay? And so on. The branch coverage is what we saw, okay, where you have these branches, the if statements, let's say, and then it says both the true and the false version of it was executed at least once, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And here you can see that here the true was executed, but the false wasn't. So this is the branch coverage, and the condition coverage is a fun one, because so here you have two possibilities, right? Because it's an or, it can be false here. Okay, so they can be both false or they can be both. Wait a second. I don't know. Okay, I'm not sure about this one, but this one, okay. So this is this and this, okay. Now, if the first one is false, then doesn't matter what is the next one,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why this looks like this, 0x. And if the first one is true, then we still have the two possibilities of the second one either being true or false. That's why we have 3 here. Okay, 3 cases. And then basically almost everything is covered here, or everything is, wait a second, okay, I don't understand why it's, everything is green, but the report says 89%. Okay, it's not clear why. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But this is again, so a very well covered module, well tested module. Anything about this anymore here? Would you like to know?
I'm going to just have to play with this with some of our own. We do some coverage stuff, but it's a bit scant at the moment.
Yeah, okay. Well, we can't, I guess we can't take a look at that now in the video, right?
Yeah, for a variety of reasons. One of them being I can't find it, but
okay, yeah, okay. But yeah, okay, so that's fine. Okay, so let's take a look at the CPAN cover website, and I open the main page of it. So CPAN cover. Okay. So basically, this is a service that runs that I think Paul Johnson is running, so the author of Devil Cover, and it monitors meta CPAN, and then just like the CPAN testers, basically downloads the most recently uploaded whatever package and runs the test, collects the test coverage, and creates a report. And it has integration with meta CPAN recent. Yes. Let's go to something that was released a few days ago already. And here you can see the coverage report. It takes some time till the coverage report gets in. So meta CPAN knows what is the coverage of this package. And from here you can get to the coverage report, which is basically the same coverage report. And again, this is it's a quite well-tested module, okay? Because 100% statement coverage, and well, the condition coverage is only 70%, okay? So here you can pay, but it's interesting that the statement coverage is 100%. So I guess one of the cases that is not covered is a case where there is no extra code. So let's say if something, do something, but no else part, right?
Okay.
Then if the true case is covered, then the internal part of the block of the if statement is also covered. But if the else part is not covered, that doesn't impact the statement coverage, right? So if you have the whole code is if x is less than 2, then print x. Okay, that's the whole code. Okay, then if you have a test where x is less than 2, then you have 100% test coverage, right? Because the condition is met and the print statement is executed. But you have never tested what happens if x is greater than 2. So that's how it can happen that the condition coverage is not 100%. So let's take a look at this line. Okay, so here it says that so there is an if statement, okay, and if we click on this one, then it says that, where is it? The true part is covered, but the false not. So here, if this is true, then of course this. Oh, no, so this is the whole. This is the, where is the condition? This is the whole condition. Okay, here. Okay, so this, if this is true, then execute these two lines. And apparently in the test, this was true. But there was no test when this is false. Okay, so we have 100% statement coverage, but there are cases of the conditions that are not met. But this actually point, yeah.
Okay, just if that condition is true, it's not going to execute anything else, is it?
Sorry?
If that condition is true, it's going to return and not do anything else.
It will do this and return.
Yeah, so it won't do anything beyond that. So if that's always true, the statements from line 54 onwards will never get executed.
Yeah, interesting what you're saying. Yes. So how can this happen? Oh, sorry. Okay. So this is a condition. Okay. So I need to correct myself. This is, so there is the condition. Okay. So it has, this can be true. So if this is true and this is true, then this is going to be true, right?
Okay.
But if either of them is false, then it's going to be false. But it can happen that this is true and this is false, right?
Yeah.
So this condition can be false in two different ways.
Yeah. So
Right?
I guess
Either the first one is false or the second one.
so is a 50-50 there? Is that basically saying that something like if the first one was true, if the first one was true, then the second one wasn't tested or something?
Let's try this is it. Okay, let's go back to this to that line, because this is the param size check, and this is it. And for some reason it says everything is green here. I have no idea now. Okay, you see, there are other cases where there is red, but specifically this one,
I think it's because that statement was on, if it got to there, it was always executed, but it didn't always get there, depending on the 50-50 of the line 48, I'm guessing here.
I don't know. It's now it's unclear to me what happened here. Okay, what is being reported here? Because it says so this is line 48. What is this? That's again line 48. What is a different file? Okay. Okay. So maybe it's playing on this one. See? It's reporting about whether it took this part or this part, because this is a defined OR. So basically it says here, it says that on this part, it says that everything was covered, all the three versions. But when we look at the minus S part, it says, if I understand correctly, that this being something that's not undef, okay, right? This is a defined OR. So this -1 will be used if the first thing returns undef.
Sure.
Right? So can this -S something return undef? When can it? I guess it can, but I don't know when. Maybe if the file doesn't exist, I don't know. Perl -E, and then print minus, what was that? Sorry, S, and then I have a file name abc.txt, and I can say it. And what is okay, the Docker file. Okay. This size isn't -S size. I don't even remember anymore this. Oh, sorry. It checks whether it's defined. Okay, so good. See, when -S returns some value, okay. So when I give it a file that doesn't exist, then apparently -S returns undef.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what apparently happened here, that this was never undef. And this is what was being reported. Okay, so if you look at this is the code. this is the expression. So it has one part and another part. So all of the cases, all of the three possible cases there took place. Okay. So either both true or false, true or true false. These are the three possibilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. Yeah. So if this is false, then it doesn't matter what is this. But inside here, there could be undef or could have a value. And apparently in every case of the test, there was some value here. Okay. So that's a very extreme case, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not covered. Okay. When the files square bracket 0 or when the files square bracket 1 doesn't actually exist. Okay. It seems that we understood it at the end. Okay. So this is how I get to the test coverage from MetaCPAN. Okay. And one of the issues that I have, open issues, that the CPAN digger, as it collects data, I would like to have the test coverage also shown here. Because sort of with the CPAN digger, I'm trying to find modules that were recently updated and have some, sort of there are low-hanging fruits to contribute. Okay, so instead of doing the pull request club, okay, where they give you once a month something, here I can look at it and say, okay, this is a low-hanging fruit where it doesn't have, well, it's not that low-hanging that you have to find the version control system actually, and maybe it doesn't have, but once you have a version control here, you don't have a CI. That's not, well, especially with mass begin per Perl. I don't know what is this. Okay, so I guess this is not that difficult to add the continuous integration for here. Okay, because we already know where it's in GitHub, we know how to set up GitHub Actions, so that's not a very difficult thing. And then I would like to have this test coverage also shown here, so it will be easy to. I mean the final number. So this what we have in here. So it's going to be easy to sort them and then find, oh, here is a recently uploaded module that has a relatively low test coverage. Okay, so some people will say, okay, I'm going to work on a module that I really need. Okay, which sounds like a very logical thing. Okay, yeah. I said, okay, let's try to play with and contribute to packages that need more contribution, and they have been worked on recently. So they were recently uploaded. And sort of that's the idea. Actually, it would be nice probably if the CPAN cover or MetaCPAN would be able to show you, okay, here are the, I don't know, 20 most important modules, and these are the test coverage report for them. You might know there was a report. I actually even mentioned it recently, but I don't know now where, by Neil Bars, right? Neil Barr. That's his name. Sorry. So he had quite a few years ago when he was discussing the CPAN river. Are you familiar with the CPAN river idea?
No.
Okay, so well, let's go CPAN river. Okay, so the idea there is that you have modules there's a module that many modules depend on it, and then many more modules depend on it.
Yeah, okay.
And to find the modules that are the most important ones, because most modules are dependent on them. Okay, many of those are modules that probably we've never heard about because they are low-level modules that everyone is using them, but right?
Yeah.
Some of them can, and then so here he has this explanation, and let me try to find the article. I don't remember which was the exact the article with the one that I found. So maybe this the report. There was a list somewhere. One of the articles had a list. Oh, here it is. Okay, but this is a really old article, I think, if I remember correctly. I don't see the date on it, but the comments are 7 years old.
Yes, 2016.
You know, do you see the date on it?
Yeah, just
Oh,
below quality metrics.
The URL, it's also set here.
Yeah.
Okay, too small for me. Yeah, so I was wondering, and I was hoping that we will have on MetaCPAN there will be something or somewhere that's dynamically updated. I don't know, once a week or what, because this obviously has changed. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So here are the distributions, and then I don't know if where is the metric of how many things are depending on them, but simple data dumper, test simple. So these are very low level or common, or how should I say, modules that many things depend on them. And then the idea, I think, behind that is that the whole work that he did is that we should, as the community, improve the quality and maintain, especially those that many others depend on them, right? So they are the most the riskier ones, and then it has this report. Okay, so that's one thing that I would think that could be a good idea. Okay, so this was, and I actually sent a couple of, this is for the CPAN Digger. I included some issues, and I also opened an issue to the CPAN cover to have the links here and some things, but that's it. Okay. So we covered the setup of this one. We can now try to find one of the we can try to look at one of the other modules that we have in the list of this the project that we have here. Okay, participants. Okay, we can look at one of these and try to run test coverage. I know, for example, back a couple of years ago, I played I did some work on the ACK module, and it was also very much almost 100% covered by then. So I guess it's still. So we can take a look at those, or we can pick up, or we can take a look at the datetime format PG, because that's one of the modules that you mentioned, and we now already know a little bit about Postgres, or we can try something else.
Let's go for the PG, the format PG, because I think that's fairly reasonably self-contained and
okay.
Not particular. I mean, obviously it's got Postgres, but we've got the technology for that. So if we need it. Okay,
so here I just quit everything that I was doing it for this project. Is this and this is the module, and I'll start by cloning it, right? Do I have a fork already? I don't know. Okay, but then this is date time format, so date time. No, I don't have it here. So git clone. Let's start with git cloning, and so I can so instead of using that shared Docker image that I used, I think here too. Well, wait a second, actually. Okay, it doesn't have GitHub Actions, right? It has
Yeah.
no CI either. Okay, so that's also good. The dbdpg doesn't have either, so I will send a pull request there, or if you'd like to later on, we can do together, or you can do it
Okay.
if you like. So I can leave it that way. But so let's try this one. So I go to the dbdpg. So it's here, right? My Docker file is here that I just prepared for dbdpg, and I copy it here, and I start. Well, I switch to the other folder here too, date time, and here I am going to edit this file, and I start out by just not doing anything. Okay, so I'm starting to use from zero. Okay, to see what do we need there. Okay, and then I rebuild the Docker image. Okay, and then I can run. Okay, now I should have named it a different name, but anyway, now I already have this name. Okay, I need to Docker rm dbd pg. Okay, so okay, you see that's the problem. There was a mistake in here.
I didn't see it.
This is missing here.
Okay.
Okay, I forgot to edit, so I'm going to edit now to both. Apparently, this is what I used, but then I forgot to update the comments there. So I run this command, and then I get inside, and here, okay, so what is, I haven't even checked what is there. So it has a build PL. It doesn't have make. Wow, it has a, wait a second. It has a make file. How come it has a make file? Okay, that's strange that it has a make file, but whatever. Okay. Let's see the build PL. Okay, cpan no test module build tiny. What is this? So it's a bit strange how this is set up. Okay, I don't see here anything how to do this, but okay. So let's go back to the Docker file and let's see what happens here. Okay. Okay, it created the build script. Now I can run Perl build and Perl build test. Okay. And lots of things are failing. So it didn't complain, right? That's strange. So when I ran this, it didn't complain that certain things are missing.
Yeah, that's so good.
cpan install deps. Okay, fine. Okay, so it's actually has this cpan file where I guess the dependencies are. So this build PL, so it's strange that it sort of has a cpan file and the build PL and the make file. It's sort of unclear to me what is the tool chain here. But do we have any other explanation here? I don't see any explanation there how to set it up. Okay, fine. So, and I think I forgot to give it no test. Okay, so it's gonna be faster now. So I'm going back to the Docker file and I start to put here the command. So I have to run cpan no test install deps dot, and then there was also the build thing that I had to install, which was module build tiny. Module build tiny that I also installed. Okay, so let's go back to now Perl build, and Perl build test. Okay, so now the tests are running. And it didn't complain anything about database, so it apparently doesn't need Postgres database.
Yeah, it's quite possible because all it's doing is formatting some strings essentially, isn't it?
Okay, but we can install these things, so we can install cpan these additional libraries for the tests. Okay. So now I can run the test again and see if that works. And I also need to install run cpan double cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so now the test passed. So now I install cpan no test devil cover. Okay, so we won't need any of these apparently. At one point we might want to also install the Perl critic. We don't need the Docker compose, right? Because we don't need the database. So it's only one Docker. And here it's build PL and Perl build and Perl build test so far. Okay, so now I can run cover minus test. Okay, so it's complaining a little bit. Unknown options. but it's fine. And we should probably have some different name here, right? So this is DTFP because that's the first letters. Okay, so DTFP. I am very good at naming, right? And I use the same name for the image and for the container, just to confuse everyone.
Okay.
Okay. So we got a test coverage report, 86%, fine. And now we can. You might recall that the cover it stores in the cover DB, but because it's in Docker, so it's as it saves as user root. So I just change this. Okay, and now I can open the cover, and then this is the cover reg HTML open. Okay, so this is the report that we got. Okay, so we can look at this one. And we can start thinking about tests. Okay, so it says if $_ is European, okay, and then server TZ and okay. Okay, when is subclone need to be executed? Okay, because it's not code never, so it's never code. Okay, we can try to take a look at the documentation. So it's called date time format PG, right? So I go to metacpan releases and I give it the name. And I go to the documentation and clone. Okay. So it's somewhere in the documentation, so it's officially there, but it was never tested. So we can write a test for that. What else? So that's the subroutine coverage. This one also was never called, this server TZ. So what is this server TZ? Oh, it's also here in the documentation somewhere. It's just above here. Okay, this does not accept the following RS options. Wait a second. Yeah, okay. So you can continue searching for it. Oh, that was the call, right? I just missed it. So this is when it's called. Okay, and it's also red, okay? So this barfs because self may not necessarily be initialized. Need to fix it. Okay. We can add the test. So when was this module released most recently?
Not all that long ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was actually emerged in a pull request I had on it. So.
But if we are already here, then let's look at the issues. So it has 2 issues. Okay. So Okay, so here's the test report. What we could do, a bug report. Okay, so first of all, we could write a test just for this. Okay, we won't fix the right. So we, in order to fix the problem, the best would be to be able to reproduce it, and then someone can fix the code. So an improvement for our next step would be here would be to write a test that actually reproduces this bug. But before we do that, we actually probably should verify that this really is true. What this user says, that from Postgres this happens. Okay, so if I understand correctly, it says that Postgres does something, but this module doesn't work in the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. These are two different timestamps. So here there is a Z, here is EST. Okay. And here says that it doesn't work if you give it EST. Right? Okay, so we have been working on this for an hour now. So we were talking about for an hour. So let's have a break.
Yeah.
And in the break, let's think whether we would like to write a test for this, okay? Or write a test for one of the things that that doesn't is not covered, okay? Especially the one that says it barfs, okay? But do you understand what how this thing works, or what happens here? Do you know enough fixed time zone?
I'd have to look at it. I mean, the two things that I looked at were not relevant to this.
Okay. So you can bring the things that you were looking at, and we can write a test for that, or okay.
Yeah, I can't.
So that was one issue, and the other issue was in DBX class. Okay. Okay, so here's a couple of things. Another thing, okay? So this one says that with DBAX class there is some issue. So together with DBAX class, there is some issue. Okay, well, that was like 2 years ago. It says too late. I'll take a look at it over the next few days. That was 2 years ago. Okay, so let's have a break, and then let's decide which one we are trying to do. Okay, or if you're doing something totally different.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Fine.
So
okay.
think about what you would like to do. Okay, so I'm stopping it. Bye for now.